I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today, and I appreciate having known you and worked with you for the last, I guess, pushing a decade now. I guess I met you when you
Right?
were about 20. So yeah.
Well, I was thinking about our talk this morning. I was like, Jeff has seen not only like raw, here's where we live kind of stuff, but like our very first move, I was sicker than a dog with the flu when
Yeah.
y'all showed up. So not only did you see us at our worst because we were in the middle of a move, we were completely unprepared because I think probably we're both sick, but I was the worst of it. I had no voice. We weren't done packing, and you showed up and I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and
And here we are 12 years later, still friends.
think about your own personal moving experiences when you leave college and you have a TV, a box, and a nightstand,
Yes.
and then I don't know, where was your first house? Grand Prairie.
Yeah, my first apartment, well, in Texas was Grand Prairie. Yeah.
Yeah. And then a house in Addison, and then a
Yep.
bigger house in what's that, Frisco, the Colony.
Yep.
And then another house in Irving now. So just what you start out with,
Oh
and
gosh, but don't forget
moving your stuff around.
You moved all of my mother-in-law's stuff from Louisiana in too.
Yeah.
So
That's always one good thing we didn't talk about is storage and moving is always the perfect opportunity. If I haven't seen this or used this in 10 years, it's probably time to get rid of it. So
yes, that is
that as a mover, because we get paid by moving more stuff.
Yeah. You're like, no, keep it all. You can straighten it out when you get there. When I get questions, people aren't asking me questions about that. What they do ask me questions on, because we have we have a blog post on pods.
Right.
I can't spit it out yet. I need some more coffee.
Okay.
And so I get some questions on that occasionally. So I figured who better than to ask the expert on these portable on-demand storage type things. And I know that pods is like saying Kleenex for tissue. People just use the term interchangeably now.
Right.
But I know that there's an increased interest in those, probably because the moving season has been extended for so long. And, I've had some experience with portable storage and discovering things that I should not have been putting into it. So I wanted to kind of ask you about that. Like, I know from experience what not to put in there, but what is maybe something funny or, things that people don't think that they shouldn't put into storage that you get questions on. And I think that's going to kind of show us a couple other things that we have to talk about with this.
Well, we basic stuff that we can't take could be flammable, combustible, paint, gas, propane, butane, cleaning supplies,
typical moving stuff, right?
Just common sense. Don't move liquids, because basically, if you got a lawnmower, it's got gas in it, and you shove that in the top of your pod upside down, the gas is going to leak all over what's below your that item. So I was trying to think about what you were saying earlier about funny things people have put in there, and it's not really funny, but we've discovered pets that got in there, and
oh no,
what happened to Fluffy, and 6 months later you find out what happened to Fluffy.
Oh my gosh,
got into the pod and curled up and took a nap.
Oh my gosh. Well, I know that's terrible, by the way. Awful.
Yeah, not funny.
Didn't know you were going there. But anyway, one of the questions I get is, why do I have to make an appointment to go see my pod? I need to get something out of it.
Right.
And I mean, my understanding is some of these, and you can talk about the different kinds of sort of temporary storage, but I think some of these, they actually stack them. And so if you want to get into it, that's why there's a fee and you have to make a reservation, and there's a process, because it's not just is sitting in a field that you can go get into like a storage unit.
Right. Well, and that's part of the discussion, exactly how and what kind of service you're having. But if it's in a warehouse and it's warehoused, then obviously you're going to have to make an appointment to access it. And we have to get the, if it's, you know, depending on how long it's in there, and if it's in their perm storage long term, it's going to be, like you said, stacked. There might be 3 or 4 pods or containers on top of yours. So you got to get it down. You got to open it up, and then we have designated areas like in our warehouse and most warehouses where you can come and access it. So it's an access issue, it's a time issue, and really it's a liability issue for your protection and our protection. And you can't be running around the warehouse. So we don't want anything falling on you or on us. So not that that happens, but you know, there's designated safe zone areas where you can come in and access your vault or your storage. So.
But I need my fall riding boots.
Well, you know, you can come get them, but it also how many of those do you have, and how long it's going to take you to go through and look at the box you're looking for. So
exactly. So we found that when we ordered, you know, a temporary storage, it was actually too big, and so we had started packing all of it towards the back, thinking that you needed to go high. But then you start realizing this thing's going on a truck, and it's going to go down the highway, and then it's going to be on a forklift to come down. So really, you should pack. There's a strategy to packing these, like, right? So you have to do like the whole floor first.
Exactly, which is the same strategy that we use if we're loading your furniture and moving it from coast to coast so it'll fit in our truck. You're going to be doing the same thing if you're doing it yourself and doing storage. You're going to want to load your pod basically from the bottom up. And you're going to want to put your furniture and your heavier items at the bottom, and you're going to want to put your lighter items in your boxes at the top. And there again, think about the items that you don't want to put in there that might leak from the top out of your boxes. So yeah, you want to try and get a pod that's a correct size, and that you don't have 20 feet of open space and 5 feet above you, so that your stuff is shifting around in transit. So when you're loading your pod or your container, you want to make sure it's fairly full, and open areas are filled up with towels or maybe even empty boxes that are going to keep stuff from moving around there. So
that's a good point. So I think that there's not one type of portable storage anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen new ones, well, new to me, that they're called like cold storage, but they're not attached to anything. Please, for the love of God, explain to me how this cold temporary storage works. They're just like lined up on the street, but it says like cold storage.
Not sure if it's still a container.
Yeah, it's a container. It looks exactly like the pod that I rented.
Maybe
like
they just
10 years ago.
I think that might just be their service level, where they're going to drop it, and like, you know, if we were going to get into this, you know, there's service levels where we can bring our companies. We don't offer that service, but they just drop the container or pod in your driveway, and you load it, and it can sit there. You know, you can just pay them. It can sit in your driveway as long as your HOA doesn't forbid that for more than 30 days or whatever. I'm sure yours would. Mine might not. And it's whatever the weather is going to be outside. So maybe that's what they mean by, you know, cold storage. It's non-climate controlled, non-temperature controlled storage. So that's the only thing that I can think of. But most people, you know, that's just more for a temporary type solution. If you're doing a project in your house, you need to get stuff out of that room for 30 days, 2 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever. You can leave it there in your driveway. Cities won't let you leave it in the street, and then your community won't let you leave it in the street. But most people, when you're using that type of service, will basically drop it, they load it, or we come out and we load it and we take it back and put it in our warehouse. Or some companies might, if you can drive down the Bush Highway through Irving, and there's a big pods, I'll use that name, and that's the actual place, and there's 600 of them stacked outside the warehouse, and they're always there. So I'm assuming they have that may be what they call cold storage, and you can either put it inside the warehouse and pay more to have it temperature controlled, or you can leave it outside. And I will tell you that they're not very few items that you can not leave in a non-temperature controlled storage for 4 months, 6 months, a year. Now you might not want to leave your a 300-year-old Chippendale dining table in cold storage for 10 years, but that's the way your furniture is shipped from coast to coast, through the desert, through the mountains. So it's not going to hurt most furniture for it to be outside, not outside exposed, in that pod, outside on a lot somewhere for months at a time.
So let's kind of round it out and talk about the different types of sort of temporary storage and what's appropriate for each, and then tell me what you do the most. Like,
well, we almost exclusively are people that don't want to touch it. Like, hey, come pack this, load this, take it away, bring it back to me in a month, bring it back to me in 6 months.
Is that why you've moved me, 3 times now?
3 or 4 times? Correct.
Yeah.
So pardon me, I've got dogs running around at my feet. There's all different service levels and all different companies that will do different service levels. Pods and Rat Packs and those kind of companies, they're good, but they offer a more DIY, do it yourself, or if you don't have a lot of stuff, it's a 1-bedroom apartment, and you're moving from your parents' house to college or your first job, and you got 3 pieces of furniture and 5 boxes. That's a good option for either storing it or moving your furniture. But my end of and where our company is it's more of a high end, not even a high end, but a full service. Customer doesn't touch it, doesn't want to touch it. We come out, load it, take it away, store it forever how long, and then bring it back out, take it in, set it up, put it in the room, put everything back together. So, but you can get low end where you do it all yourself, or basically just dropping the container and then bringing it back and either storing it in the warehouse or storing it outside. I say we don't offer that service, but a lot of companies do. Or you can go somewhere in between, or you can go full service movers where the customer doesn't touch anything. The moving company does it all. So just depends on what you need, how much you have, and how long you need to store stuff.
So like if somebody is putting their house on the market and they think that it's going to be like 3 months.
Yeah.
Is that the ideal scenario?
We don't really have an ideal scenario. We store it we'll put it this way. If you need 2 days storage, we'll do it. We basically have a 1 month minimum. But
Gotcha.
We've got stuff that's been in our warehouse for 50 years. It's estate stuff, somebody passed away and nobody's going to settle the probate, or just people that, hey, I don't need it, but I don't want to get rid of it. So then they pay storage rates for forever and ever. So it just depends on what your needs are. What we were talking about the first few minutes was dropping it, and you're doing you're doing your floors. Like we do work for insurance companies that have the house had a flood, and we got to come get the furniture out of certain rooms. And depending on how long it is and how nice a house it is, and the insurance company take it back to our warehouse or drop the pod in their driveway, load the stuff in their driveway, and come back in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 6 weeks when they're done, and put it back in and unpack it and put it away. It just depends on the insurance company, or the customer, what the needs are, how long they need it, what kind of service, what they need. We can handle virtually anything, and the total just drop and leave it. I can always refer you out to somebody that does just that. So there's a lot of different options, and it can be days, it can be months, it can be years, however long you need it.
Okay, so last question. And I'm sure this happens a lot. People put a bunch of stuff into temporary storage, and then they're like, I don't really need that so much anymore. I don't really feel like picking it up or doing anything with it. Do they ever just go, yeah, I'm done? Like, I don't care what you do with it, just do something with it. And then what happens?
Well, we can't get rid of it. We would have the same. You got to come take your stuff and get rid of it yourself. That's kind of your problem, because we don't have any way of just of getting rid of it. Now, we do have people that, like I said, that have passed away in the state, or for whatever reason can't pay their bill anymore. So all moving companies, all warehouses are going to have auctions occasionally. We
Is
don't
this
have
like Storage Wars? Do you
it's
remember?
not exactly. That's exactly how it works. We don't like to do it. We don't want to do it. We probably actually end up having an auction maybe once every couple of years, because usually the threat of an auction, the auction letters, we do set up an auction. There's cost involved, and we do have them, but usually only when you have quite a bit of unpaid, long-term bills, and you got to get it out of your warehouse. So, but most people will pay their bill, and we'll work with most people and work something out. So, especially nowadays,
Yeah.
everybody's got issues right now from all different sides. So,
For sure. Well, I so appreciate your time. I know that this is probably a golden 15 minutes I just took from you. So
no.
what is the typical moving season, like start to finish? Like if somebody wants to move, like what's the worst dates that you could pick with the highest prices?
Well, in a non-COVID year, it's about May 15th, say Memorial Day weekend through Labor Day weekend. That's the busy, crazy summer season.
Got it.
And the absolute worst is right after school stops, so June, would be you're over capacity. In July, you're over capacity. And then August is not quite as bad. And then September gets better. But this year it was busy in June, and probably foresee it being busy through September, October. I mean, like real busy. So where you have more jobs and you have ability to cover jobs. So
that's crazy. And I'm sure we could spend 15 minutes talking about the effects of COVID on all of that. Jeff, if somebody in DFW wants to get a hold of you, how would they do that? And can you help them anywhere in the country?
Yes. I mean, I have markets where we have locations, about 22 around the country, mostly in the major markets on the Midwest, West Coast, East Coast. But I can always, if I can't actually help them, I can always give them, a good reference. I can always refer them to people or give them some ideas, and I'm always happy to do that. And they can always just, if they want to, they can call me on my cell phone, 214-534-0371, or they can email me at my work email, which is Jeff B, JEFFB @burgerallied.com.
Man, you're brave.
Yeah. Well, I know that only the top shelf people listen to your.
That's right. We're going to make you internet famous, Jeff.
I don't have anybody stalking me now.
The mover with the moves.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Have a great day. Thank you.
You too.
Bye-bye.